Welcome. You're watching Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life, with your host, Danny Pabone and Rifle Scudder.
Welcome to another episode of Rugby with Rifle, a podcast about all things rugby and life. As always, I'm joined here with my friend Rifle. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing better, thank you, Danny. I'm glad it's not last week this time because I wasn't doing so well. But today, I don't think I'll be coughing through the whole episode, so we are good to go. I'm doing much better, thank you.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, there's some type of flu going around, and
Most
I'm
definitely,
hearing
yeah.
I'm hearing it takes about 2 or 3 weeks to get over. So yeah, so it's
Okay.
something big. So I'm glad you're feeling better, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
So another thing that's making Rifle feel better as well is 6 Nations is about to start in about a little over a week now. Actually, 8 days from now, from when we're
Next Friday
recording
night.
this. Yes,
Yeah,
and that's pretty cool. This is gonna be my first 6 Nations that I'm actually following and keeping track of because we started this podcast in June of last year. So it's right after the 6 Nations. So I'm very excited to see this tournament play out live. So that's going to be pretty cool. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. So we're just going to get straight to it. Bring up my little graphic here. Here we go. So the Guinness 6 Nations, as we just mentioned, is gonna start. First match is gonna be January 31st with France versus Wales, and the last match is also gonna, and the tournament is also gonna end with France playing, and that's gonna be March the 15th, France and Scotland. So yeah, so it's gonna be pretty interesting, pretty cool to see my first 6 Nations.
it would have been better if they chose somebody else to play France. Nothing against Wales. I love Wales, but as we've said over the last couple of episodes, Wales has been battling a little bit.
Yeah.
They got some key position issues as well. I think fly half is going to be a bit little difficult for them, and what Gatlin's going to do there to see what he can do is going to be very interesting. So yeah, the whole 6 Nations is going to be interesting. But I think if I were a betting man, I think game one would be a pretty easy win for France. I think, but one never knows with rugby. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, I think I was reading the other day. I think the coach of Wales would disagree with you. Of course, he's the coach, so of course he's gonna say his team is ready. I was reading that coach Gatlin, if I'm not mistaken,
That's
Warren
right, yeah,
Gatlin,
Warren
correct?
Gatland.
Okay, I'm getting there. Rifle, see, I'm getting there.
Good, man.
Remembering the names of the coaches, he said though teams will be mistaken if they underestimate his team. So, but again, that's a coach talking. He's always gonna prop up his team. So we'll see. We'll see.
It will
And
be good though. If we need Wales to be strong, just like we need Australia in the Southern Hemisphere to be strong for World Rugby. So go Wales. I hope they can get back to, their former glory of rugby days. So we'll see what happens.
and like what happened the last time, and I hate to bring this up, uh, Rifle, but you had said Australia won all their games and they lost it last two games.
Thanks for reminding
So
me,
yeah,
Danny.
sorry to bring that up. So now you're saying Wales is gonna lose. Maybe they'll win now.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's maybe the way it works.
So yeah, so sorry to bring that up again.
No
And
problem.
again, Australia fans, please don't. He was he was trying to, it's not his fault you lost. Okay, so another thing that I wanted to we wanted to speak about is actually, sorry, I got ahead of myself. So this is the current rankings, international rankings for World Rugby. For I actually put here the women's and men's here, and as we see here, uh, South Africa is currently number one as of January 20th. So I'm sure you're happy to see that.
Very happy. Yeah, I'm very, very grateful for that. As I say, South Africa is really, really doing well. We are riding a purple patch right now, so enjoy it while it's there because, as you know, sports, you up the one day and then, the next day you're not. So enjoy it while you're riding on top of the world and you're at the top of the mountain because you know the valleys are coming, but enjoy it while you're on top.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely true. You have seasons with teams in every sport. You have teams that are at the top, and then they have a few years of bumpy road. Um, so yeah, it's that's why, and I always bring it back to just to football, and because I've been watching football a lot more years than rugby in my lifetime. It's just amazes me the Patriots, New England Patriots. They had like about close to 20 years of dominance and well 17 years I should say 16, 17 years of dominance in the NFL. So it's very rare for a team to have dominance that for that many years. And currently now it's the Kansas City Chiefs. The past 5 or 6 years they've been dominant. So it's interesting to see how long that lasts. But yeah, every team or country has its ups and downs in international play in every sport.
In terms of rugby, that would just be exactly the same as New Zealand having that dominance for so many years.
Yeah,
And now South Africa taking over from New Zealand. But for so many years, New Zealand was just top class, top of the world. They were number one, undoubtedly so. That's exactly the same as Brady with the Patriots, almost unbeatable. And now you've got the Kansas City Chiefs. So in rugby, it was New Zealand almost unbeatable, and now that's fallen into South Africa's hands. So it's
yeah,
good.
pretty cool. And as you see here, you just mentioned New Zealand dominance. Both the men's and women's currently are ranked third in the world. So just goes to show you how dominant New Zealand is in the world of rugby.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty cool to see. And the U.S. Women's team is ranked in the top 10, so that's pretty cool. I think they fell a couple, if I'm not mistaken, I think the last time we saw these rankings, I think they fell one or two spots. I may be
I think
mistaken.
so, yes.
Yeah, so, but still in the top 10, so that's pretty cool.
They're there, yeah, they're
Pretty
getting
cool
better.
to
It's
see.
good.
Yeah. So that's the current rankings. So the next thing we wanted to talk about was, and I know we had mentioned this before when we spoke about the different tournaments in one of the previous episodes, and but in that episode we just wanted to keep it simple and just talk the basics of the tournaments. But we decided in this episode to get dig a little deeper into the point system of the Six Nations. I remember mentioning that, learning about the Six Nations, when I first started learning about the tournaments and everything, I was trying to find the date of when the championship game was played, and I kept looking and looking and looking. I was okay. When was the championship game? Okay, it shows all the games. When was the championship game played? And then I finally realized, oh, there is no championship game. There's a point system, and that's how they determine who's first, second, third, and whatever in the tournament. So it was just funny for me being used to American sports where there's playoffs and then there's the championship game. That's not the case in the Six Nations. They
Yeah,
use
the
a
other
point system.
competition, sorry, in rugby as well, the same like the rugby championship, where even before the last game is played, it's possible to know who the winner is. So it's not like a final where you lose this game, you're out. You could, during the tournament, you could gain so many points by winning and maybe scoring a bonus try, by losing then less than 1 or 2 points. They're all different ways, and we can read there just how to get points. But it is possible that even when the last game is to be played, people know at the end of that competition, even before the final whistle is blown, who would the winner be. So literally on that day, you're playing just for pride for your nation, because you can't win anymore. It's game over, so to speak, for the winner. But you run on the field with your nation's jersey on your back and play for your team and for your country.
Yeah, that is interesting. That you know you, before the tournament ends, there's a high possibility that you already know who's going to win the tournament. So
Yes,
that is very interesting. And I know we had touched upon this again in the previous episode, or in an episode that we spoke about the different tournaments. I had asked the question of, if you already know your team is not going to win the tournament, do you usually see players play in that game? And I believe you said that but it may happen in rugby. That may be the case, but it's pretty rare. And you just mentioned that they play for pride of country,
correct.
and
Yeah.
so yeah.
So you won't necessarily take your best player off just because you're scared he gets injured for the next tournament or the next competition that they're playing. There's a lot, not that there's no pride in other sports and other countries and so on, but with rugby, you've only got those 15 on the field and the 8 on the bench, and you use those guys and you want the best guys there. But sometimes, for example, if you have a new player coming through, a new talent, someone like that, and he hasn't played before, and you want to give him a try and see how he performs under pressure, that could happen. But I would say my opinion in rugby is no, you'll play your best team on the day. You want to win.
Yeah, and that's and again, from watching your typical American sports, and I don't say this to degrade or talk bad about American sports. It's just that's what it is. That's the culture of American sports. Is and again, and another topic that we spoke about is the fact that in American sports you have these players making a large amount of money. So from a business standpoint, okay, let's not hurt our best players because we're paying them a ton of money. So I guess that's another aspect of it,
Most
from an
definitely, that
American
brings a
perspective.
whole different level of thinking into the game. Your quarterback, if you up 2 touchdowns and you got 3 minutes to go, and you're like, okay, listen, we really going to battle to lose this game. So let's take our quarterback off, because, if there's 2 touchdowns to go, if he gets injured within the next 3 minutes and he can't play next week, that will be a catastrophe for the team, for the franchise, for the fans, everything. So take him off and wrap him in bubble wrap so he doesn't get hurt. Where in rugby, you won't see that. There's not millions of dollars that gets pumped into rugby as in American football.
Yeah, yep. And it's nothing negative or positive. It's just the reality
No, it's
of
just
the
different. Yeah,
situation. Yeah, yeah. So
not
it's
right or
very
wrong, just
interesting.
different.
Yeah, pretty cool. So as you can see here, everybody, the Six Nations point system. So for a win, you get 4 points, and 5 points if the winning team scores four or more tries. So that's pretty cool. Now a loss is very interesting. I love the thing I love about this point system, that is, from um what's the word I'm looking for? Just from a rationally, thinking. If you're being rational, a loss is okay. If you lose, you get no points. But that's not the case in the Six Nations point system. If you
Mm.
lose, you get 0 points. However, you get 1 point if you score four or more uh, tries, or you lose by less than seven or less points. You get 2 points if again you get four or more tries, and you also lose by seven or less points. So even if you lose, you still have the opportunity to pick up to 2 points. So I found that very interesting, as opposed to again somebody being rational. If you lose, you get no points.
Yeah,
That's
and
not the
the
case.
reason for that, Danny, if you look at there where it says result under that win, lose, or draw, in the explanation of the points, what word can you see in the win, lose, and draw? What word is in every one of those lines?
Okay, well, you're putting me on the spot here, Rifle.
Yeah,
Let's
what
see.
can you see? What's rugby all about? What do people want to see?
Uh, Tries.
Correct.
Okay.
So this point system is built around trying to make teams run and play rugby. You don't
Okay.
want a team to kick the whole time, hold the ball, not run and pass and try and score. So even
Yes.
if you lose the game, but you score so many tries, you can get points, because the whole thing about rugby is we want to see the players play. It's one thing having a team hold the ball and just kick, 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 and they don't score tries, and it's
Hmm.
just not what we want to see. So they're trying to make it a game where as many tries as possible could be scored, and that's the incentive. So even if you lose, but you really played and you ran running rugby, or your scrums were good, but you scored tries, you get rewarded for that.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for just breaking that down for me because, and again, I was coming from it from an American sports culture of, hey, if you lose, you get 0 points. You don't deserve anything.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
all
so
about
that's
the
very
tries.
interesting. Okay.
Mm,
So in other words, this point system is incentivizing scoring tries.
correct. Yes,
Cool. Okay.
that's what they try to do with the quote unquote modern day game of rugby. Is they want the players to score tries. They want you
Okay.
to run and pass and do whatever you can, to score those tries. So that's what it's about.
Okay. And again, that just it's funny because that's how other sports leagues and sports have over I would say over the past maybe couple of decades, it's gotten a lot more offensive. The play has been uh more deliberate towards scoring, team scoring.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's interesting that the rugby in that aspect is focused on scoring as well. Interesting.
Yep,
And as we see here, a draw is 2 points, and again, you get 3 points if you score four or more tries. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then another thing that we spoke about previously is if you win all your matches in the Six Nations, it's considered a Grand Slam, and you get an additional 3 bonus points at the end of the tournament if you win all your games. So okay, so that's pretty cool.
then if
And
you lose, you get
yeah,
as I say, I don't know if it's just a South African thing, but you get the wooden spoon if you lost to
oh,
everyone and you stone lost. So
okay,
wooden
yes,
spoon for you. So Grand
wooden
Slam versus
spoon,
the wooden spoon.
wooden spoon. Okay, I want to keep it positive, rifle.
Yeah.
And again, I know I joked before. A wooden spoon for me, being that you know coming from a Hispanic culture, we love to cook. A wooden spoon is good for us because that means we're cooking something good.
Where I come from, a wooden spoon is not a good thing because you're going to
Okay.
get a spanking. Let me put it nicely and say you're getting a. That's the only good thing for a wooden spoon is a spanking. So that's
Yes.
that's why you get the wooden spoon. That's what I say. I don't know
Well,
if that's just a South African saying or if anyone else uses it, but I know that we did. So
cool. Two different perspectives.
right, looking at the same thing but completely different thoughts about it.
Yes. So if rifle, if we're ever together and I have the pleasure of cooking and I bring out a wood spoon, don't worry, don't run
Okay,
away. It's good. It's because I'm cooking.
that sounds good. I'd look forward to that.
Oh man, that's funny. So continuing with the point system. So the positions, um, and again, going back to my story of trying to figure out when what the championship game was, and then finally realizing there is no championship game. Um, so how the positions in the Six Nations tournament, how are they? How the teams ordered after tournament is done, and obviously the team with the most points. And again, this is not points in matches, points within the point system. So the team with the most points obviously is number one, and they're considered to be the winners of the tournament. Now, if there are two teams awarded the same number of points, then the order is decided by point differential. So in other words, how many points the team scored, how many points they allowed, you subtract those two, and if one team has a higher, uh, actually has a, yes, higher difference between points scored and points allowed, then that team is above the other team that scored the same points within the point system. So hopefully that makes sense. If I didn't confuse everybody, but hopefully that made sense.
If you're confused, just read what it says there on the list.
Yes, disregard me and just read the screen.
Yeah,
And if the point differential is equal, then the 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 order is decided by all the tries, the total tries scored in all matches. So number three goes back to your point, Rifle, of it's an incentive for you to score more tries.
right.
Because in the ordering, for example, if you have two teams that really did good and, you know, and they both have the same points, and let's say, and this is very rare, but let's say point differential was the same as well, and that probably be a very rare case. But let's say it is both number one, number two, where point differential is the same. Then scoring more tries is really gonna come in handy. It's if it's really tight between one and two. So that's very interesting.
Mm,
And then number four is if the number of tries and all the other categories are equal, they'll be placed equally.
yeah.
So I'm interested to see, how often that has happened, if that's ever happened at all. That'll be interesting to find out. But
I can't recall. I can't say. So we'll have
no, no,
to
no. I wasn't. I
go
wasn't
back in history
expecting
and
you
read
to
up
know
and
the
see if it
answer.
was possible. Yeah,
We'll need to get a statistician to
definitely.
find that out. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. So again, that's the point system for the Six Nations, and again, I thought it would be cool just to dive a little deep into how that works, so that when our audience watches the Six Nations, they'll know why teams are in the order that they are at after each match. So that would be pretty
Yeah.
cool. Okay. So, last thing we want to speak about is the schedule. So these are the Six Nations match schedule, and these are all Eastern times, U.S. Eastern times. So, like I said, Rifle kicks off with France and Wales, and it ends with France and Scotland. So, the the one interesting thing, well, not interesting, but the one thing that I found, that I read was Ireland has won the last two Six Nations, and it looks like they're going for a three-peat because I believe they are slightly favored again this year.
I don't know.
Or am I mistaken?
I've been listening to a couple of podcasts. I enjoy listening to guys that have played, and some of them
Okay.
still currently play and have podcasts. So I listen to that. I listened to Marshall from, he used to be the New Zealand scrum half. He was saying teams are starting to learn how to counter Ireland. They see
Okay.
the way that Ireland plays, so that's going to be a problem for them. And then
Okay.
listening to the English guys, where they had even Cole on, who has just been dropped for the international side. You know, they were talking about who's going to win. So it depends on who you listen to or what articles or what channel or station you read or so. But you know, definitely top three. Obviously, people are talking about Ireland, England, and France. Between those three, so like you said, you know, Ireland is on top. I personally myself, I would think maybe France. Ireland now, you know, their coach Andy Farrell, because it's a year that the British and Irish Lions are going to play later. So
Mm.
he's not coaching Ireland. I believe he had to move away because he needs to pick from these guys that are playing now. He has to pick the side that's going to play against Australia. So it's not easy for a team to lose your coach in such a tense, you know, time
Yeah.
period of you playing against all these other guys. So that's going to be difficult, I think, you know, just not having him there. He's an amazing coach. What a phenomenal coach. And he's done so well with Ireland. And for him not to be there, you know, that could be a little bit of a disruption maybe for them. Who knows? I mean, maybe over the last 2, 3 years that he's been there, he's just trained them so well that even if he takes himself out, you know, they can just continue because he's trained them so well. That could also be a possibility, but I think it could be an effect on them. So, as I say, depending on who you listen to, but definitely if you go to the bottom of the log, I think Scotland will be at the top of the bottom players, but definitely in my point of view, you'll have Italy and you'll have Wales in there as well. So Scotland, Italy, Wales, you know, 4, 5, and 6, I would think, and then the top three, because there's so much happening now. You know, England, they've just chosen a new captain, Itoje, so he's going to play. They dropped Jamie, so he's not going to be the captain. He might be coming off the bench. So that could be something because, you know, is Itoje the right guy? You know, I don't know. He's a phenomenal player, but it doesn't mean that you're the best player on the field or a good player, that you're a good captain. So one will have to see how that pans out. And then they've got a little thing that they've got to check out with, you know, their fly half position, what they want to do there. So there are a couple of positional things that they've got to sort out to really, really get themselves going. If you remember last year in the autumn series, they played, I think, 2 or 3 games at home and they lost all three, but by maybe 1 or 2 points. So can this little bit of a change with a new captain, dropping the old captain, you know, positional changes, can that take them to the next level to actually win the games and not lose by 1 or 2 points? So can they go out and beat these other teams, and can they win the Six Nations? You know, people are talking about that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, I think. So it's just very exciting, going to be good. So I'm very excited for this to see what happens. But in my viewpoint, I would say maybe France, but that's just me.
Okay, cool. So you have the slight edge on France winning the
I
Six
do,
Nations this year.
I do, yeah.
Cool,
I
cool.
can't remember when last the team did a three-peat in the Six Nations, because that I mean that to for 3 years in a row to not lose against any of the other teams, that's pretty amazing. So that's going to be very hard, but we'll see. I mean, it's going to
Yeah.
be a good competition.
Yeah, so everybody, I'm not gonna pick. I'm not gonna say who I'm picking because I don't. I'm the novice in this situation here, but uh, yeah, it should be very interesting. I know France has been, um, and please remind me again, Rifle. Was it France and South Africa, the two teams that didn't lose in the Autumn Nations?
In the Autumn Nations, those are the only two teams that didn't lose.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So yeah, so they're coming off. They're coming off the other nations winning all their games, so they've been dominant the past few months or past year, I should say.
Correct. And then another thing to look at and to take into consideration is currently the clubs are still playing. So you have the URC, so you got the French league. So you have players who play for specifically England, Ireland, and France, and they're playing for clubs. And in this league, the French clubs are doing extremely well. Irish clubs as well. Leinster, they're doing very, very good. Got a couple of other players in there, for example, from South Africa. They've got Ergis Snyman. They've got Barrett from New Zealand who's playing for them now. But mostly that is, a lot of the Irish team that are playing for them, Leinster, and they're doing amazingly well. But in the whole competition, if you look overall, the French teams are also doing very well. So it's going to be interesting because you have to take that into consideration as well. Which club teams are doing well and who in the club teams are actually going to represent their country. So for France and Ireland, they're looking pretty good.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Cool. So yeah. So again, everyone. So the Six Nations is gonna be it's gonna be over 5 weeks. Again, starting January 31st, ending on March 15th, and I believe all the games on the weekend. Usually they occur in the
Yes.
weekend. Yes.
So the start is on a Friday, but they'll mostly be Saturday and Sunday.
Cool.
And I think you can watch them in America on Peacock. I think if you've got the Peacock channel, the games are normally in the Northern Hemisphere games you can watch on Peacock. They've got them.
Okay, so I might have to look into getting my subscription of Peacock.
Yeah, I don't know how else you'll watch these, but Peacock has got them.
Yes. So that's pretty cool. So with that, everyone is Six Nations tournament again starting in 8 days from us recording this episode. And yeah, looking forward to that. And if the coach of Wales is ever watches this, I apologize for my friend Rifle. He means well. I have
I
faith in
got a,
you, Coach Gatlin.
got a lot of respect for Gats, as they call him. I mean, he's coached the British and Irish Lions. He knows what he's doing. Just been a rough time for Wales and their team. It's not to
Yes.
do with him. So, but yeah, respect Mr. Gatland, definitely. But I don't think you're going to win the Six Nations this year. I'll say that out loud.
Oh man, that's funny. So with that, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we're going to continue to follow the Six Nations tournament. It's going to be very exciting for me to be following the Six Nations live. So again, thank you, my friend Rifle, for educating me on the game of rugby.
I don't know how much
Much appreciated.
education there is in there. What I'm saying is just my loose little bit of opinion, but yeah, we'll see after the competition if anything that I said did actually panned out.
But yeah, but you did educate me on the whole point system process of them
Okay, with the trials.
incentivizing.
That's good. That's good
Okay,
to know.
so yes. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. So with that, everyone, again, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Rugby with Rifle. And until next time, take care, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. Stay well. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching this episode of Rugby with Rifle. Remember to press the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet to support this podcast.